I'm glad you're here. It's good to see you. Hey, the year's winding up. We don't have much time left. I think it would be cool if we just chilled and took a look at some games. There's been a great sale on the Nintendo eShop, so I've just picked up some stuff, but people have also asked me to discuss some games. Over the past year, I've taken a look at a lot of modern games from a developer's perspective, and I want to be able to help people who are interested in game developments. I want to help you understand those concepts, and if you're just a gamer and you just like hearing about some behind the scenes stuff, I think that is also really cool. So we're going to take a look at Ni No Kuni today, and I just want to apologize for the people that really like the comedy sketches that I do on the channel here. I've been writing a bunch. I've been preparing, performing a sketch with an actor, and those take a lot of time. So I've just finished my next game. It's the Hero of Destiny was killed by the final boss, and I'm in the final testing and balancing stage, and I've got to stay focused on just fixing up the last bugs that are in that and getting it balanced for the final version that will launch. So that's why I haven't been uploading as frequently and why I haven't done the comedy sketches. Those take a fair bit of scripting and effort and time to do the comedy stuff, and so when I'm very busy with my game development, I tend to do less of those because they take a lot of effort and work. Let's go ahead and take a look at Ni No Kuni really quickly. I don't take sponsorships. I don't do sponsorships. I'm not here to sell stuff to you. I'm here to just hang out with you and share my projects with you guys. This is the retro flag. I don't know what the model number is. On the back it says handheld controller. It's clear purple or transparent purple. Oh, the green button is hit by the green screen. But this is very comfortable. This has been the most comfortable way to use my original Switch. The buttons are super loud. I'm gonna push some buttons here. Hold on. Can you hear that? So if you're sort of lying in bed with your significant other, this isn't the grip to use. But anywhere, any other time of the day, I was playing Family Feud and Wheel of Fortune with some friends. That was fun. Yeah, this has been very comfortable. So I don't know if you use a grip yourself. If you do, let me know. I really like hearing about what kind of grips you guys use. When it comes to the DS, GBA, PSP, Vita, grip 100% of the time. It just makes them more comfortable for handheld consoles, and I never found the original Joy-Cons very comfortable to use. But the Joy-Con 2 and the Switch 2 are bigger, so they're more comfortable. Anyway, let's get into Ni No Kuni. I'll try and make a second video for today to make up for the fact that I've just been so busy with my work, and I feel bad because I know that people really just enjoy the chill vibe here at the channel. I feel bad when I don't upload. Let's take a look at Ni No Kuni. We start out the game, there was a pre-rendered cutscene, and now there's this, I believe this is from Studio Ghibli. There's something very pleasant about their animation, the style of art, the visual communication, the way that they make things just look so warm and inviting, you know. It's so heartening to see this. I already watched that. I just booted this up again, and I'll get straight to the gameplay. And the transition from the hand-drawn art to the real-time graphics, this is such a delight. Yes, I know how to move my character. Now, what I believe is happening, I believe that the hand-drawn art that is used for, the Studio Ghibli animation, I don't know if they have those artists hand drawing textures for the environments here, but it feels very consistent with the visual language of the Studio Ghibli animation. So I don't know if the animators from the studio are contributing to this project, or if this is simply style matching. A strong and competent artist, especially one working on a game, absolutely needs to be able to style match. That means taking source material and just matching it, whether that be from a particular era of art or media, or culture, or whether that be matching a specific style, in this case Studio Ghibli. What I really like, I like the thickness of the outlines on the vehicles and the characters, because it evokes the art style of Studio Ghibli. I don't have the audio recording on here. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know why my capture card is not recording audio right now. If I were a doctor, I'm sure I'd be able to figure it out in due season, but I don't have all the time in the world to figure out my very crappy quality capture card. This is Philip. Good thing you found me. Guess what? She's finally ready. I don't know why I read that like a Papa Meat video. I'm Oliver, okay. Hey, Oliver's got suspenders like me. Or bracers, if you will, if you're from the old country. So I'm looking at the foliage in the pot here. Oh, okay, that's baked, so I don't believe we'll be seeing any specularity. Oh, I'm being gazed upon by a viewing orb, a palantir, if you will. I don't believe we will see any sort of complex calculations when it comes to specularity, because that sort of visual communication is incongruous with this art style, with this aesthetic. So I was looking at the metal bands on the pot, and it looks like that's all hand painted in. I want to see consistent aesthetic here that looks like Studio Ghibli. As you see that our shadow occludes that pot, you see that the shininess on those metal bands does not change. So that's hand painted in there. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see physically based rendering. I don't want to see realistic reflections, because we see that in modern games that have been launched within the past 5 years or so. Say for example, you know, even what's the latest Dragon Ball game that's come out? You know, the new fighting one. The characters have this very clearly style matching the anime source material, but then environments have physically based rendering shaders and realistic reflections and specularity, and it's incongruous, it's inconsistent. It's not incoherent, it's coherent in what it's saying, it's just inconsistent, and it's very messy, and I want to see if I can get hit by that car. That's something that I like seeing in games, is what logic do they employ. I wasn't even paying attention to what the characters were saying. Come on, I can make it! Oh man, I wanted to see a little bump and a hit, and then my character fall down. Okay, that's fine. Oh, okay, they wait a little while and then they continue. That's fine too. Okay, I'm going across the street. Oh, see, this kind of thing this is something you'd be very careful with when you are building your environments and you are framing your cameras, is you need to make sure signs like that don't get too close to the camera. You see that sort of geometry. If that gets too close, ooh, that got very close to clipping. You can clip inside the camera, and that happens because these are not real objects in the real world. They don't actually have mass. They are just a connection of dots, and the dots are painted in between with color and little pretty pictures, and they can go inside the camera. This is not the real world. It doesn't, we call it a camera, we call these objects, but it's not really a camera. It doesn't have its own physical space. So we have to program colliders to prevent that. We need logic to move the camera around, but this doesn't have, we'll see later on in the game, we have to have some sort of logic that controls the camera to prevent it from clipping inside of another object. And on the 3DS, it was a nightmare because the stereoscopic that's the stereoscopic depth. Well, we certainly had that when the trend fell out, didn't we? The stereoscopic depth of the 3DS would actually result in painful stereoscopic enforcement, you know, because objects are getting way too close to the camera, so we need to control that. So that was a huge challenge for the 3DS. Where do they want me to go? Oh, I suppose I'll go to the star. I'm just sort of talking about game development now. But I'm glad. I miss working on the 3DS because that's one of my favorite platforms, if not my #1 favorite. But what I don't miss is having to work around stereoscopic depth. So I still have a little bit of a negative reaction when I see the camera get close to geometry like that, I look at that and I think, oh man, I hope they are really careful with how they are managing the stereoscopic depth, because you have to define what point you're focusing on. This is so pleasant. Holy, oh wow. Look at this, look at this. So look at the shadows of the bars that are being cast on the ground there. Those are not real-time shadows. It looks like everything else is real-time. See the black levels that are being cast by the cars, they are same as the character. Let's see here. Oh, the black levels of these roadblocks, the black levels don't look like they are the same as my player character. They look a little lighter. So I believe that those are baked. Those are baked. I could be wrong on that. Something about it, they look very low resolution. They look too low resolution. I'm not sure why they would have baked that. That doesn't seem to make sense. For some reason, they're lighter and lower resolution than the rest of the shadows that supposedly are real time. For some reason, it looks baked, and I don't know why it looks like that. The tree is animated. You see the shadows are moving. So that's obviously real time. But if we have a look at these little bars here, the shadows of the bars they're not even baked. They're just a texture to make it look like they're shadows. And the reason why they do that is because those bars are so thin that if you were to try to use real-time shadow casting, you would need to have very high resolution shadow resolution, which has a massive performance implication. It makes your performance worse. And so what they've done here is they've just basically laid down an overlay plane, and they have put a texture on it to make it look like it's casting shadows, but it's not. And what the actual giveaway is right here where I'm standing. Those bars shouldn't be like that. You see there? There are no bars right here to be casting those shadows. It should be this solid thing here. So the angle of the shadow casting on the bars, the angle is actually incorrect, because you can see it's casting more horizontally than vertically. So it has a darker, it has a darker color value to it, a darker tonal value. But something like that is very good to consider, because if they didn't do that, it would be a little bit incoherent if they didn't have the shadows there, because the game is telling us, oh look, there's these things are casting shadows, these exist in a 3D space. If they didn't have those bars, it would look suspicious. Even if you don't notice it consciously, subconsciously you would go, okay, something's off here. So it's good that they have that. For me, I think they've just tiled a texture, and I think it looks bad if you can see the edge of the texture, because it's seamless. So that's why it looks like that there. So they could have spent more time on that to not have it be to where, you know, it has the lines here. They could. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't actually make a difference. It's doing its job. It's communicating. It's telling us that those are casting shadows. The grass is not moving. Oh, look at this little... If I bump that little fence, will it open? Oh, no. What an adorable little porch. I look at the porch. So I just adore little details like this little swinging gate here. That's nice. Let's talk to this. Mom's waiting for me to... Well, I'm sorry, Mother, but I believe I'm going to be spirited away to a magical land where I hope that there's monster catching. I've been told that there's monster catching in this, and that's one of my weak spots. Monster games. I have a little bit of a self-ban on monster games because I will play them a huge amount. I'll be spending a lot of time playing monster games. See, here the geometry is... It's thick. There's enough thickness to cast those bars. Ooh, now I'm curious. Now I'm curious. The bars here on the fence, this is not geometry. That is a texture. And I believe this game, whatever engine it's running on, is not able to cast shadows based on the textures. I think it casts shadows based on the geometry, but not the textures. That's something Unity is good at. It can calculate your shadows with transparent textures. So that's... Unity is so full of flaws and quirks, but it has strengths as well. This is very pleasant. I think the shading on the bottles is a little off. If you have a look at the tonal values of the bottles, it's quite dark, and they're using, that looks like it's real-time shadow casting. But then you look at the milk bottle, and it's a different shader than those bottles on the that we saw on the shelf there. I'm not, see, it's very, there's some behind me as well. It's very, very, very dark tonal values. It's the darkest thing in the scene. It's a little inconsistent with the rest of the scene. I don't know why food always looks so delicious in games and anime. See how dark they are? They stand out, and they're inconsistent with the aesthetic of the rest of the scene. You know, we have these characters that they do a great job of conveying a sense of hand-drawn art. And the bottles back there, the baked texture and the shaders that they use on that, it looks too video gamey. I'll skip ahead a bit and see if we can get to the magical part of the game now. Okay, welcome back to Stairwatch. At Stairwatch, we analyze video game stares. Every video on this channel is about anime. Welcome back to Stairwatch, the YouTube channel that analyzes video game stares. Today we're taking a look at the stares from Ni No Kuni. I say this because there are some games, for example, like Resident Evil does it very well in real time, where characters' footsteps are synced very well to each particular step. It's not that easy to do. I'm not great at it, for me personally. So when I have stares in my games, particularly games like 3 Down Stars on the 3DS and what have you, I did not sync the footsteps to the stairs. Some of that has to do with it's a lot. It requires inverse kinematics. You have to have specific animations, and I had different movement speeds for characters, and it's very hard, you know, depending on your character, their movement speed varies based on the character themselves, and it's hard to sync all of that up with the animations and the movement speed. Now you see, this has partial syncing, because when I stop in between stairs, you see the character sort of float down to the next stair. There is some usage of inverse, see that sort of floating down to the next level. There is the use of inverse kinematics. Inverse kinematics is a way that it's it's not physics simulation. It's just a technique that we use in order to manipulate character rigs in real time in response to the placement and relation to other video game objects. And so inverse kinematics allows us to, say, for example, do this where we have one foot up on one step and one foot on the other. It's interesting. I don't think the footsteps are fully synced. See, it's close, but it's off. There's going to be certain steps where the feet are not really on the step. So I think they've achieved that effect the same way that I do, where they let inverse kinematics kind of place the feet there in a very loose and open-ended way. It's not hard synced the way that it is for, say, for example, a Resident Evil game. And it really depends on the abstract normality that you want to set, you as the artist. What do you want to set? Changing camera angles is tough like that. That is so tough, because if you don't handle, I'm holding up, right? Because if what we've done is we flipped the camera 180 degrees. If we don't allow the held direction to stick, then what's going to happen is the player is going to keep walking through the door over and over like this. So the first time I noticed this technique where it maintains the orientation, first time I noticed that was Final Fantasy X on the PlayStation 2, and that is a game developed by Squaresoft. Ooh, these are baked shadows. Have a look at the light streaming in from the window is coming in from a different direction than what my character is casting and the character's casting. And this is so interesting to me, because realism is not important, especially in a visual aesthetic like this. What matters is visual expression, visual communication. What are you trying to say, and how are you trying to say it, and through which means, what flourishes will you use to say those things? We need the character to look interesting, and so we have to express multiple tones on this character. We have to express a sense of light and a sense of dark so that the character, their shape, makes sense to us. This kind of looks, you know, like volumetric lighting, like light shafts coming in through the window. But as you can see, it's actually just a single plane. It is a flat piece of geometry, a billboard, if you will. But generally, we only use billboards when we are describing a piece of geometry that is designed to face the camera in at least one axis. So this isn't a billboard, it's just a quad, it's a plane. And you can see the character clip through it. You see? It's a semi-transparent geometry, and it's not moving. It looks like it's moving. What they are doing is they are offsetting the texture, the transparent texture of that. So it's just changing the offset value. So it's not moving even though it looks like it is. It makes it look more alive. It makes it look more interesting. But you can see my character model clipping into it. You see? Right there? That it's interesting to point out visual techniques like this. I think this whatever engine they were using is a little bit older. We're so blessed. If you use Unity, I use Unity. Again, it has many flaws. You just got to learn what they are and work around it, because it has a lot of strengths that make it worth using. One such strength, Unity has soft particles, and soft particles let you click a little tick box or check box if you're from North America. And what that does is that softens the particle when it clips into other geometry, and it makes it look more natural and organic. This isn't using that kind of soft particle technique. I personally wouldn't even know how to implement something like that programmatically, which is why it's important to use game engines if you are not capable of making your own engine. And I have created games without game engines for older consoles because I really enjoy doing homebrew games. I'm supposed to leave the house. I don't think there's anyone in the history of mankind that has just spent this much time looking at this part of the game, and this absolutely doesn't matter. This part of the game is so unimportant, but I'm going to keep looking at it. Oh, this is interesting. I like this sort of, see the shadow of the chandelier? This is all, you know, it's all baked and whatnot. It makes no sense for that to be there, right? Like realistically. But I love this detail here. You know, the light streaming in, and then you have a little bit of the light here on the pillow, on the couch here. And then the shadow on the ceiling from the chandelier doesn't make sense, but it looks really good. And what it's conveying a sense of, it's conveying a sense that there's light hitting the floor. The light is bouncing up and reflecting off the floor, and it's the light reflecting off the floor that's casting the shadow. This is very different. This game is very, 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 very different because it's not approaching these visuals from a video game perspective. I don't know how much input these developers had from the studio, but there's a very strong artistic direction here in terms of expressing visual information. The way that they're expressing visual information here feels more like how an animation studio or how a painter would approach this. This feels very unlike a game when it comes to the direction that they're taking, the choices that they've made when it comes to expressing. Oh, hold on, that was something. Hooray! This is something that Pokemon refuses to do. Oh, this is so bizarrely fascinating. Wow. I did not ever think I would see something this interesting before. The light that's coming, look at the character illuminated. Oh, wow. What is going on here? This is a very interesting lighting technique, and I'm so fascinated by this. So the previous 2 episodes on this channel were discussing Chrono Cross. I almost said Trigger. Good gracious. I need my coffee. And in those older games, they didn't really do much real-time light calculation at all. So they would have a technique where a character enters a shadow area, a shadowed zone that doesn't have real shadows, but we want to make it seem like there's shadows in there. What they would do, they would just darken the character's material. And what we have here, see that bright spot on the ground? That is not real-time light, and I was tricked. It looks like real-time light, but oh man, this is so fascinating to me. It made me think it's a real-time light, but it's not. You see, and what gave it away was that NPC character got close to it, it makes no sense for the character to suddenly be totally illuminated like this. It makes no sense, but it looks really good. And it saves processing power. If this was a real-time light, there's a rendering cost, and that negatively affects the performance. And this game was launched about a decade ago, I think. So right now it's saying this is how bright it is outside when you get close to the light. This character is not being illuminated. They're having their given instructions to say, okay, the character material needs to be brighter now. So instead of a shadow zone, there's a bright zone. Okay, so we've entered a bright zone. The entire character is illuminated equally, right? There's no the lamppost doesn't cast shadows or anything like. I mean, even if the latest Pokemon games implemented something like this, it would be a million times better. That's an exaggeration, maybe like 10 times better. But this looks really good, and it basically, this is free. This has no rendering cost. So what they've done, I think they're just blob casting. Instead of a shadow, they blob casted a bright spot, and then there's a collider here that's spherical or cylindrical. I would have just used a sphere, right? And when that character is in there, say, it'll brighten up their shader. I can't believe how interesting that is. This is so small. I don't think anyone has ever looked at this detail in such scrutinous observation before, but this is interesting. It's performant. It looks really good. It's very convincing. This is interesting. This isn't. I know this is not going to be interesting to you. I know it. This is literally nothing, and I'm like 2 minutes into the game. That's so interesting to me. And again, this gives me a little bit of 3DS anxiety because I'm thinking about how I would have to tell the game to, hey, look out, don't let that be too close in terms of stereoscopic values. This is composed in a very interesting way. I have to make a statement now. I'll take a stand. I will say that the animators in Studio Ghibli did have a lot of input and engagement when it came to building and framing the environments and the camera placement, because it's framed in such an interesting way. They've never left a blank, empty spot. There is the concept of breaking the line, not just in terms of composition, but in terms of tonal values and color values. I really like when the game just transitions to this hand-drawn animation here. This looks fantastic. This is really lovely. I like this a lot. It's very welcoming and warm, this animation. I'll try to skip ahead a little bit. Look how lively and fun this animation is. This is what it looks like when real artists create. The characters, you know, instead of just jumping and moving, they lean back first, and you can feel them sort of dragging their weight forward as they move across the scene. Wow! I really like that, and I'm hoping that sort of liveliness, that organic sense of mass and movement, I really hope that we see that expressed in the in-game animations as well. So far, the in-game animations are very workmanlike. You know, there's nothing wrong about it, but it's missing the liveliness of the hand-drawn animation. So I'm not sure how much the Studio Ghibli animators, I'm not sure how much input and how much communication they had with the animators for this, the people that created the 3D animators for this. Ooh, we got ourselves a boxcar, folks. We're gonna take a test drive. Let me get spirited away, though. I just picked out another detail. I believe that the characters are not allowed to receive shadows. The shader that they're using, and a shader is a part of the program that tells the game engine how a piece of geometry should be rendered. I believe that they are not allowed to have shadows because we need to have two tones on our character models. We need a light, I'm not seeing highlights. I'm just going to call it a mid-tone, and the dark tones here on the character. We need at least two tones to convey a sense of shape and form to the character. Our sense of form, you know, the roundness. We need to make these characters look three-dimensional. You need at least two tonal values for that. If I were to enter this shadowy area here, we would lose those tonal values. We would only have dark values, and it would make the character look flat. So there is strong artistic direction here that has determined the characters do not receive shadows. I generally don't like that, but because this is meant to style match Studio Ghibli, I can respect that decision. I'm getting kind of worked up because it's so cool. This is really interesting. It's so interesting to look at. Oh, I don't think that building is normal mapped. Interesting. I need to look up the date which this game was. Oh, is this the magical girl that will spirit me away? Spirit me away, because I gotta catch me some monsters and do some battling. You gotta spirit me away, dude. But there's no one there. There's something I've noticed about the character's hair. Have a look at the character hair. There don't appear to be... I don't think there's physics simulation on the character hair here. I think this game was created with performant experience. They wanted a smooth frame rate. I think you see the hair billowing a little bit in some scenes. I don't think it's physics simulated. There may be some degree of programmatic manipulation of the hair, but it does not look like physics simulation. If it was physics simulation, you would know it because it would be wobbling around all over the place. If this was released in the past 7 years, the hair on that parrot's head would be wobbling around as it moves. The tail would be wibbly wobbling. See, there's movement in the hair here to make the character feel more alive, but it doesn't look like physics simulation. There's something else going on there that's more basic. Very interesting. Don't watch people when they're sleeping. It's creepy. Just don't do that. Now, this game looks fantastic. For the era in which it was released, its style matches respectably for the era in which it was released. But the game that perfected this aesthetic, hands down, is Digimon Story Time Stranger. Digimon Story Time Stranger accomplishes what this game sets out to do even better. This game does it well, but there is some incongruity, say for example with the presentation of the bottles. Some of those environmental details don't blend well. The game that does this 100% is Digimon Story Time Stranger. You look at the indoor environments, outdoor environments, everything is just very, very consistent. Very, very strong art direction. They really understood what they were trying to achieve with Digimon Story Time Stranger, and it is perfect. It is flawless when it comes to style matching what is meant to look like a hand-drawn anime. It is brilliant, and it does it better than this game. This game looks great, but Digimon Story Time Stranger, if this game, I would say this game runs, right? There are other games that try to achieve what this game set out to do. Those games walked so this game can run, and this game ran so that Digimon Story Time Stranger could fly. I just adore this sense of whimsy, this childhood adventure, a sense of danger, doing stuff you're not supposed to because it's too dangerous. The adults said not to do it. Oh, we've got some misadventure now. This is so charming. Wow. I like this a lot. And I haven't even got to the actual gameplay yet. Am I going to get spirited away now? Please. Please spirit me away so I can get some monsters. He's doing the slide from One Punch Man 3, except he was actually animated. One Punch Man Season 3. That was the same scene as One Punch Man Season 3, except this was actually has actual frames of animation. Yo, did Oliver die? Does Oliver die? Oh, no, he's still alive. Oh. Okay, that's it for this episode. I'm going to go straight into recording a second episode because I'm really enjoying taking a look at this game, and I really want to get to some monster catching. I was told this game had monster catching. Thanks very much. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'm going to record the second episode now and see how far we get. If there's any other games you would like me to take a look at, please let me know in the comments. And if you would like to support this channel, you can do so via Patreon. I buy these games myself, and I don't necessarily buy the games to play them. I buy very few games because I'm very busy with my work. So I've been picking up more games recently because people asked me to discuss those games, and I just buy them myself. So it would be a huge help to me if you contributed via Patreon, because that would allow me to just pick up more games that I can discuss here on the channel and we can talk about it. All right, take care of yourselves. Please be well. Enjoy the rest of your year. The year's winding down. Make the most of it while you can. We'll see you in the next episode.